Joespeak podcast. I always say I have a good one. And I always mean it. But this time, I mean it in a different way. You know, you're fortunate in this business to be able to, interview people that have something interesting to say, people you admire, people that you've had the opportunity to work with, to connect with, people that you've seen from a distance and you always wanted to connect the dots with. Today, I get all of the above. I have got the Godfather of West Coast hip hop, who's got some depth in a lot of areas. It's not just hip hop, not to minimize hip hop, of course, because he helped start it, and I'm going to have him tell a couple stories about that. But depth as it pertains to community. I heard him say on a show recently that he was building the plane while learning to fly it all at the same time. He was really at the front of a lot of things and didn't get to look around and see how other people did it first. So the OG right here, big Lonzo Williams. Lonzo, what's up, family? How you doing?
Oh man, just hanging like a chandelier, just trying to shine.
Man, this is crazy. I got to revisit your book, Not Without Alonzo. Let's make sure people know. This is really, I love this book because among other things, your personality comes through on it. And so we've known each other for over 20 years now, somewhere in there. Been able to connect some dots over the years. So it's really kind of neat to be able to have, I think we have several full circle moments where we get to connect on different levels. So it was certainly a natural thing for us to want to have you on here and be able to, tell some things and educate some people on some one-on-one that they probably just don't even know.
That's true.
So let's start from the beginning. Tell us, before people knew who Lonzo was, who was Lonzo? Like kind of how you came up and, that kind of thing, up to you starting to be a promoter, which you have been a club owner for 40 years, but up to that point.
Alonzo was a little skinny kid out of Compton that used to go to all the dances in the city. We had dances every week someplace, at school, noon dances, Friday afternoon dances. And that was our thing back in the day. And I went to Campanella Park one time in Compton, and we was having a hell of a party in Compton, man. And the DJ was rocking so hard, I wanted to do what he did. He inspired me to want to become a DJ. And I'd never seen a DJ anywhere other than a radio station, so I figured I had to go to broadcast school and get a broadcast license to come DJ at the park. There was no such thing in my mind as a mobile DJ. And I did just that. Went to Gardena High School. I left Centennial, went to Gardena. Went to broadcast school. I became a DJ in the 70s, man. My first name was Disco Lonzo. I'm rocking. I got my little Vega. I got my, borrowed my buddy's records, I didn't have nothing. I borrowed my buddy's stereo, his records. All I had was a car and a gig. Wow. I started doing these parties at the all-girls, like Regina Chaley, the all-girls Catholic school in Compton. And that's where it started for me. It started getting my groove on, learn how to make people party on a real consistent basis. And started doing a bunch of stuff, man. Just started doing parties for everybody. I didn't have no competition. Yeah, I had no competition back then. None. I don't like competition. I mean, competition is good on one way for me, but it's bad because I like to be known as the pioneer. I do pioneering stuff on a regular basis. That's what I do. I like doing that. Don't ask me why I do that. Right. That's just part of my personality.
Right.
So I had no competition for quite some time. And then a buddy of mine eventually became competition for me. And it was a nice rivalry that helped blow up the West Coast. Now, my boy Roger Clayton, rest in peace. And
Uncle Jam's
shortly
Army,
after that, we were partners on some events. And I had a chance to get the Eve After Dark, which you saw in the 2022 Super Bowl. And although I offered him a partnership, he turned me down and became a rival. And I'm like, welcome, let's do it. If that's how the card's going to fly, let him fly. Right. And
so Roger Clayton did Uncle Jam's Army, right?
It was Uncle Jam's Army. It wasn't always Uncle Jam's Army. It was Unique Dreams Entertainment.
Right.
And I was Disco Construction at that time. And we became rivals. And with the Eve After Dark being successful, it put me on top for quite some time. Then he came out of nowhere and started one-upping me. He started doing the sports arena and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, shoot, I got to do something. I started doing the Queen Mary. So, it was just, we had this one-upmanship that put us on the map. And he made a record, I made a record. And he made a record, I made a record. And then I made an album. He never made an album.
So you graduated from doing clubs, doing DJing, to having a physical club location, right? And then now at the same time you first got Eve After Dark, you were still doing events all over town, right?
I never stopped. And that's what made it so good, because the Eve was in the county of Los Angeles. It wasn't in LA. It wasn't in Compton. It wasn't in Los Angeles. It wasn't in Gardena. It was in the county. And the rules for the county and the city were a little bit different. Although they said you couldn't have an after hours, no jukebox, no live entertainment. They didn't say nothing about DJ. And we rode that loophole for about maybe 3-4 years, dude. And nobody paid no attention till the cop finally realized that we were in violation of something. And he wouldn't have DJ added to the ordinance. So now we're under the same compliance as everybody else. Me, Carolina West, the name of the game, we all were doing something that, that was kind of illegal, because at 2:00, all the adult clubs, the band stopped playing and the DJ would take over. That was the loophole, and it worked for everybody. And I saw that at the name of the game. When I saw it at the Carolina West, I just jumped on the same bandwagon and rode it, man. It made me successful. Plus, I could go do my event elsewhere. Most of the time, you do a outside event, they close at 12:30, 1 o'clock. So I can come to my club, do the after party. So I'm making double money off the same people. And it just put me in a kingpin position when it came to giving parties.
And you started this as a teenager.
I was 22 when I got to Eve. I started doing parties at 19. By the time I got to Eve, I was 22.
So you were always pragmatic. One of the things I remember you telling me years ago is that, as a business person, I'd be the one to take a chance. I wasn't doing it with somebody else's money. Most of the time I was doing it with mine. So
when I bet my own money, I'm gonna pray a lot harder. It's like when you gambling on the pass line, you don't want to praying. You don't want to pray. Come on, whatever the case may be.
Right.
When you get somebody else's money, sometimes you don't really care as much.
Right. So you're pragmatic, and at some point, because you are this community staple, and we're going to talk more about the community and your observations of community then and now and what we need to do going forward. But at some point in doing what you're doing, you come across what people now know to be Dr. Dre, NWA, Ice Cube. Take us into that story and how that happened.
Well, by the time the Eve jumped off, the Eve became a neighborhood magnet for all the youngsters. And I started giving rap contests. I started having Run DMC and Curtis Blow come to the club. And by me sponsoring rap contests, everybody wanted to come rap at the Eve. Rapping was hot, and the Eve was hot, and to get on the Eve stage was even hotter for some people. And DJ Clientele came to Eve as a rapper. He won a rap contest. Yella came as a poster hitman, I call him.
Right, Yellow Boy from NWA. And then Drake came in later on as a customer and ended up as a DJ at Eve After Dark. But one thing people don't realize is, people don't know, is that me and Dre's family grew up on the same street. His dad, his uncle, all of them, we lived a few houses down from them. So when Dre introduced himself to me, I knew who he came from, so I gave him a shot. Right. So you just let him in the club one night. The word was you let him in to tick off Eazy-E. You didn't let Eazy in that night, but you let Dre in that night.
Right. Eazy came in. The Eve had a dress code. The times were a lot different back then. When you went to clubs, you couldn't wear tennis shoes. You couldn't wear jeans. You had to come with a certain dress code, and that was the era of that time. And when they first came up there, they wasn't dressed properly. And I told them, you come back, you can get in, but you can't get in looking like that. So Dre came back to the club, dressed like he was supposed to. Eazy didn't comply. And he was talking You can give me a little lip, and I'm the boss. I'm the kingpin. You can't talk to me any other kind of way. So just sit your little butt out there. Come on up here, man. And I did it just to piss him off.
Wow. Wow. And at some point,
No, I'm known for doing stuff like that.
right, right. But little did you know that something happened over at the mic stand, over at the mixing machine. Dre made his way up there.
How he got on my turntables, I've told the story 1,000 times. I tell you 1,001. I don't know how he got on my turn. He didn't ask me. He might have talked to Unknown or bribed Unknown. I don't know, because Unknown it was actually Unknown's slot to be DJing at that time. I looked up there and somebody else was like, oh, no, we don't do that.
Right.
You couldn't come to the eve and just start playing no records. It wasn't going to happen like that. And he did. But what he did was so unique. I had to like, oh shoot, he working with something.
Wow. Wow.
That's how it happened.
So you're pragmatic. What do you do next related to that? Like the whole music thing. By then you were already doing records, right? Mixed records and mixtapes.
I was doing my Z-Rocks and my cut ups and my house parties. I was doing I had a couple of underground labels that I was running already through VIP and the swap meets. That was making me money already. I needed Deep Yellow was my main mixer, and I could use another one. Unknown DJ had a label also, and he brought Dre in with him for a minute, and then they had some kind of misunderstanding. Dre ended up working for me until I started making legitimate records.
Wow. So how long was it before you decided to start actually making records, studio records, where you were the artist?
Well, right after Run DMC came to the club, man, it was they cost me $500, 3 plane tickets, hotel, had to feed them for 2 or 3 days, and then they dropped the mic. And then what really upset me, they played for Roger the next night, Uncle Jam's Army. I'm like, I can do my own. And what I saw, it was like, when you are mechanically inclined, like I am, I'm a mechanically inclined person, which means I can look at something and figure out how to make it happen. Okay. Some people can look at a car and figure out what's wrong with it just by, listening to it. I can figure out things, how to decipher things. I said, we could do that. Hey, he got some tennis shoes on. They got a record, boom, 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 and 3 microphones in the. We could do that. And that's what I said. We could do that. I'll make my own group. And that's what I did. I made the World Class. I created a group called the Wreckin Cru. And after we made our first record, which was called Slice, we found out there was another group called Wreckin Cru out of Detroit. So we had to mess our name up. That's why there's no G on Wreckin. It's just Wreckin and CRU as opposed to CREW. And it was the Olympics, 84. Never forget this as long as I live. 1984 in the Olympics. And I kept hearing this term, world-class runner, world-class sprinter, world-class this. And I asked my lawyer, I says, hey, man, if I add world-class, mess up the spelling, will we stay out of a lawsuit? He said, yep, that's how you got World Class Wreckin Cru.
Wow, that's crazy. So who was your lineup in the World Class Wreckin Cru?
Now, the Wreckin Cru, just so you know, the Wreckin Cru, it was a few people in the Wreckin Cru, but all of them didn't transition to the World Class Wreckin Cru. The Wreckin Cru was myself, DJ Unknown, Dr. Rock, Billy T, and Sweet Ron Ron. Then we started making records. It was Yella, Dr. Dre, myself, Sweet Ron Ron, and Dr. Rock. And then we made one song, never released it. Then the World Class Wreckin Cru was Dr. Dre, myself, Clientele, and DJ Yella.